Today's first reading from the book of Genesis, I think, is a beautiful testament to us of what happens when we think we can do the Christian journey on our own, when we think we don't need others to help us, to support us, to be there for us. We see in Cain pride. We see in Cain jealousy, envy over his brother's success, instead of rejoicing in the fact that his brother is making it, is doing good things. Obviously, Cain too is doing great things, but the Lord accepts Abel's offering in a different way. And instead of rejoicing in that, he lets anger and jealousy and envy take over his heart, and we hear the outcome of it. Now, that sin doesn't just harm Abel, obviously, by his death. That sin doesn't just separate Cain from his brother, but it also separates Cain from the very thing that he loves to do. Till the soil, work the land. He's banished from that very land that he loves. And on top of it, we see him lying. How do I know where my brother is? Am I my brother's keeper? For us as Christians, the answer is yes. I am my brother's keeper. I am responsible for my fellow brothers and sisters. I think back to several years ago, my first year in seminary. Transition is always hard for anybody, but imagine being uprooted from the only country you've ever lived in and being placed in a foreign country, having to learn a foreign language. I was placed in Italy, having to learn Italian, having to go to school in Italian. All of my family and friends are back here in the Boston area. And I thought, this stinks. And so several days in a row, I didn't go to school. I didn't even get up for morning prayer or mass. I would email my formation advisor and say that I wasn't feeling well. I was too depressed to get out of bed. And one day, about 3 days after missing school, there's a huge bang on my door. And it was the kid who sat 2 rows in front of me at our class in the university. And he said, "Where have you been the past 3 days?" And I said, "Who are you?" Well, I knew who he was, but I was like, who are you to ask me where I am? And he said, "Am I not my brother's keeper?" That's what we're all called to be to each other. We're all called to be our brother's keeper, to help each other get to this altar every single time we're called to gather as God's people. To be there for each other, to support each other, to nurture each other's faith, to give each other hope, support, and strength in our journey as Christians. When we live the life of being our brother and our sister's keeper, the Lord will look on our sacrifice with delight. When we bring our brothers and sisters, the lost sheep, back to the Lord, that also has a reward for us. One day we all hope to be gathered around the heavenly altar in the New Jerusalem. Who are the brothers and sisters that God is calling us to bring with us? Let us make a resolution today to be our brother and our sister's keeper, to bring them to the heavenly altar. But first, we must bring them to the altar, the earthly altars. Bring them to the Lord. Who is God calling you to bring to Him today?